All right, now we're going to be looking at a pyramid. It's really important to be able to identify the base of your pyramid. Remember, I told you that as you slice your way up the base of a pyramid, your shape is going to be the same shape as the pyramid, but it will be exactly similar because it will, as it comes to a point, it will get smaller on all sides. Okay, so the surface area of a regular pyramid is one base, because we only have the one base, and 1/2 the perimeter times the slant height. Now that's because the net for this thing is like this. And each one of those 4 triangles is 1/2 base times height. Now the height of these is that slant height that you see right there, because when you flatten it out, that becomes the height. Okay, and that's why it's the slant height right there. Okay, and the perimeter, because you do 1/2 base times height, 1/2 base times height, 1/2 base times height, 1/2 base times height, and you're adding them each up. So when you do 1/2 base times height, base times height, base times height, you're adding up all of your bases. So you'll just use the perimeter of the base times the height. Okay. So, surface area is equal to base plus perimeter times slant height. Okay, so the area of the base is 7 times 7, because it's a square. Now it could be a hexagon or a pentagon, in which case you'd have to find the area of that. Since the area of a square is side squared, it's going to be 7 squared, or 49. 49. And then the perimeter is 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7, or 4 times 7. And then times the slant height is 9. So, again, your Texas Instruments calculator will know that it needs to multiply before adding. If in doubt, though, put parentheses around it. And we need to multiply that by 1/2. Okay, so you'll have 49 plus 4 times 7 times 9 times 1/2, or divided by 2. And that will give you 175 centimeters squared. All right, looking at your cone. Okay, let's go check our theorem list. For the surface area of a cone, it says that we need a base and 1/2 the circumference times the slant height. And that works very similar to how a triangle works, because if you were to stretch this out, just imagine if you were to cut a party hat and you wanted it to lay flat, it would make a bunch of little triangles like this. You can just kind of imagine that. Okay? So, surface area is equal to base plus circumference times 1/2 the circumference times the slant height. Okay, so the base is a circle, so the area of the base, which is a circle, is pi r squared, and this arrow, because they have a whole line here and it's kind of pointing towards the center, it's letting you know that's the diameter. We need the radius, so we're going to take the diameter and divide by 2, and we get 7.3. So we have 7.3 squared times pi. And that is 167.42 when you round it to the second decimal place. And then we're going to do circumference, because we need that right here. Circumference is pi times d, so that's going to be 14.6 times pi. 14.6 times pi equals 45.87. Whoops. Now remember, we're doing this in, our units are inches. So inches times inches is inches squared. our circumference here is just inches. And so we do circumference times the slant height. We don't have a slant height here, so we've got to find it. Okay, we have the height of the whole thing, but we don't have a slant height. So we're going to look at this right triangle right here. And we already know that half of the diameter is 7.3. And this is our hypotenuse of our right triangle. So we're going to say the slant height that we're looking for, which will be called L squared at that point, is equal to 7.3 squared plus 18.3 squared. So 18.3 squared plus 7.3 squared. Now your calculator also knows it needs to square before adding. But be careful, if you put it in certain ways, it won't know the difference. So if you were to add those up first and then try to square them, it wouldn't work. Okay, so we get that the slant height is 19.7. So let's plug in all of our answers now. 167.42 inches squared. And then we've got circumference. Circumference, which is 45.8 inches, times the slant height, which is 19.7 inches, times 1/2. Okay, so we have 167.42 plus 45.8 times 19.7 times 0.5 is 618.55. And that's going to be in inches squared, because inches times inches is inches squared there. Okay, look. Okay, we're going to work on number 9. And this is surface area, remember? So even though you found the surface area of a cylinder, that always includes both bases. But here, this base is on the inside of the figure, so you're not going to count both bases, just one base. And then for the cone, it normally includes the base, but it won't be including the base either. Okay, so we're going to need the base of the figure, which is a circle. And the area of a circle is pi r squared, which makes this 49 pi. And then that's going to take care of our base. So 49 pi is 49 pi is 153.94, and this is in feet squared. Now we're going to need to find the piece of paper that rolls around the outside of it. So for that we're going to need the circumference times the height. And so the circumference is 14 pi, because it's pi times d, and the diameter is going to be 14. And that's going to be times the height, and it's going to be the regular height of it, so it's times 8. So 8 times, oops, that's divided by. 8 times 14 is 112. 112 times pi is 351. So the cylinder paper is going to be perimeter, or not perimeter, you'd call it circumference, wouldn't you? Circumference times height, which is 351.86. Okay, now we've got to find out what the lateral surface area is of this cone, and that's going to be 1/2 the circumference times the slant height. Well, we don't have the slant height, so let's erase all this junk in here so we can see what we're looking at. Okay, so we're looking for the slant height here. We have a right angle right there. We know that this is 7 feet, so we need to find this hypotenuse right here. 7 squared plus 4 squared is going to equal that hypotenuse, which I'm going to label L because it's the slant height. So 49 plus 16 is 65. Take the square root of that, and we get 8.06 for the slant height. So our circumference, which we already have from right here, 14 pi, so 14 times pi times, that's the circumference, times the slant height, which we said was 8.06. And then we have to take half of that. And that's because when you stretch out that cone, it's going to be a bunch of small triangles like that when you pull it apart because it's curved. And that's why it's 1/2. So we have 177.25, sorry, it's 248, so it'd be 25 when you round it, and that's going to be in feet squared. So everything is in feet squared. So we have 153.94 plus 351.86 plus 177.25 is 683.05 feet squared. Okay.